chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, Cayman Islands, and good morning to our global family. It is time for another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Yes, voices of the islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and it's good to be back with you on this fabulous Wednesday. Yes, today's episode, the mic belongs to you, Cayman, but the mic belongs to you, all of our persons who are tuning in, because as you can hear it, here and everywhere you go on the island is buzzing in homes, supermarkets, WhatsApp chats, and even around a few domino tables as debates are actually strong when it comes to this whole immigration reform, Caymanian identity, and growing the growing divide between generational Caymanians and status holders heat up. The tone feels different, I'm telling you, and the emotions are sharper, and the country is pretty much wrestling with questions we're not used to confronting so openly. So this episode is your space to speak your truth. There's no script, there's no filter, no preset agenda. That's why it's open mic. Just us, just you and I, and share what's going on in your minds about who we are, where you think we're heading, and how we hold our community together in a moment of real, where you're feeling the tension, something is not right. But if you're talking, if you've been talking about it all week, bring it to the mic. Let's hear your voices. I'm inviting you to let's hear your voices and shaping this national conversation. But before, again, getting into today's discussion, the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. 345-936-8255 is the number to call and be a part of the discussion. You're always welcome. Now, Cayman, the countdown is on. Yes, just what? 8 days? Yeah. Again, I hope your lights are up and you're winding down on your Christmas shopping. I like to count it down myself. But International Lighting, again, got to remind you to check ED. International Lighting, Ed's Plaza on North Sound Road, and also in their Boddentown store. They're having their big sale of 2025. It's the last big sale for 2025. So don't miss out on those huge savings. Again, he has huge savings on all accessories. That includes kitchen rugs, curtains, and he also has those 24 and 32 piece bedspread sets. They come with bathroom mats, curtains, and a lot more accessories as well to match along with your Christmas decor. We Caribbean people, we like to get at least a new bedspread every Christmas. If it's one time of the year, it's Christmas, we really, really go all out, and international lighting can take care of you. And guess what? There's a bonus, because for every $50 you spend, you'll be entered into winning a draw for a round trip ticket to any Cayman Airways destination. So shop today, save big, and fly tomorrow. For more information, you want to call him if you need more to find out how much of those colors or how much of those pieces he has left of those comforter sets. Give them a call, 345-949-5141. They're open from 9 a.m. daily until 6. And of course, the holidays are coming every now and again. Once the demand is there, Edward will be there. But give them a call just in case you're stuck in traffic. 345-949-5141 for more information. Yes, we're doing it here. It's open mic. 936-8255 is the number to call to join in the conversation. But, you know, we got to do this. Here's the weather. Compliments of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. The synopsis calls for gentle winds and seas are expected through the next few days in association with a weakening ridge pattern across the Northwest Caribbean. A low chance of showers remains possible this evening, with fair skies expected Thursday as residual moisture slowly moves out of the region. Now, satellite imagery shows scattered low-level clouds drifting over the Cayman area. The forecast for tonight calls for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall near the mid to upper 70s. Winds will be easterly, 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Now, tomorrow's forecast calls for fair skies with a 20% chance of showers in the afternoon, and temperatures will rise to the near mid to upper 80s with a heat index of 94 degrees. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. There'll be a high tide this evening at 7:44, and tomorrow a low will be at 2:28 with another high at 9:37 in the morning. This evening, the sun will set at 5:50 and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 6:54. Tomorrow's sunset will also be at 5:50 for all of you who are making plans to take in the beautiful sunsets we have here in the Cayman Islands. Now, the outlook is for a slight chance of isolated showers through Friday afternoon and into early Saturday as the moisture affects into the Caribbean area from a frontal boundary. So there you have it, making plans. I can't believe we're talking about the weekend already, but for all of the Christmas parties pretty much that are winding down and the luncheons that you continue. And I'm hearing that the traffic out there is crazy. Yes. I don't have any birthday shout outs that were sent to me or that came up on my radar. But of course, happy anniversary, happy birthday to anybody who is celebrating your birthday today. Our thoughts and blessings and well wishes are always with you all on your birthday. That's how we roll here on Sabrina Speaks. Now, I see you all coming in, rolling in slowly but surely. I just want to make sure that you are aware and be very careful when it comes to this holiday season as we wind down and pretty much counting it down. Yeah, I'm feeling the rush myself. I'm feeling trying to, get certain things in the house done. I'm not a baker, but it's tradition. I like to, rub up little fruitcake. I like to do stuff like that. I usually make a denser version and a lighter version. And sometimes it's just a hit or miss. But I tell you what, the family that I have, nothing goes to waste. But yeah, I've been throwing my hand down a little bit and doing a little bit of baking. Yes, I have been little bit here or there. And I'm just making sure that everybody tastes it. I'm not to the point where, oh yes, I'm a professional at it. But my fruits soak from year to year, and I just keep topping up with the red label and the Ray and nephew. I keep topping it up. So I have fruits going for years and I just keep topping them up after each Christmas. So yeah, put it like that. And the rum is not overbearing, but I just want to make sure that as we're out there enjoying the move through the holiday, the busy season, please let's not forget the basic housekeeping for ourselves and our families to keep us safe. Remember, please, lots of persons are distracted very easily. When you leave your home, please double check that your doors and windows are locked. And it just takes a few seconds to just double check this to prevent break-ins. And of course, when you're out shopping, stay alert. Keep your bags close. Watch your surroundings and don't be distracted, for God's sake, by your phone. Don't be. Sometimes we're there talking. What did you say? You want it again? I'm here. This one has it for that price. You'd be surprised. You just put down a bag and you're not even realizing you get distracted very easy. So be cognizant of this and remember to be careful of what you share on social media, because posting that, you're away, for example, or just posting how you're decorating your place, you're literally giving people a roadmap into your house. Things and times have changed. As friendly as we want, as much as we're so happy about our decorations and our decor, other people have ulterior motives. And, this season is about joy and it shouldn't be about worry, but a little vigilance goes a long way to keeping Cayman safe and your own personal property. And remember, a lot of us have put up decorations in and around our home. Please, if you got those security cameras and these inflatables, make sure they're not blocking the cameras or these lights that you have. These are little tips, so just double check, make sure nothing is being obscured because of your holiday decorations and that sort of stuff. So I thought it would be nice for me to share that, because I'm out and about. When I do get out, I dread the roads, to be honest, because I know the traffic is horrible. I have friends who are telling me just to be careful and to not come out. Oh gosh, the traffic is horrible. But yeah, but I want people to exercise caution because there's so much road rage that I'm hearing. Or Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is out there. They're doing a number of checks and all that sort of stuff. And but too often our roads tell a different story with all the motor vehicle accidents that we're having. And with more cars, more shopping runs, more holiday events, the stress level I know can rise, and so does road rage, but just keep it together. We've all seen it, the honking of the horns and the cutting off and the frustration boiling over. I know, but there's the truth. A few seconds can save reckless driving and can cost lives, So please, please, please exercise patience and calm when you're out there. And when you see your frontline staff and our emergency services out there, or if you hear sirens, just pull off the road and give them the right of way, because the season, just slow down. Let's give each other grace in traffic. Let's remember that, the person in the car next to you is also trying to get home or to their shopping or to their family as well. So I'm imploring everyone, or reminding you that road safety is everyone's responsibility. And in the spirit of Christmas, choose kindness behind the wheel. Yes, please, 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 please. Anybody wishing for a house this Christmas? I saw an article and put up by the government. Yeah, I saw something put up by the government where it was talking about private-public partnership. Yeah, so if you're wishing for a house in 2026, look here. That might have gotten closer. I got an image that I captured here. I stole this from their page. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, affordable housing has come a long way, challenging, for the Cayman Islands. But look, the premier was meeting with people in the industry, the real estate industry, and these partnerships now signals a fresh momentum. And I'm quite sure for all of our first-time home owners or those who are aspiring to own their homes, if you didn't hear it, yes, government and private sectors are leaning in together to support Caymanians on their journey to home ownership. You're seeing here where the Premier Andre Ebanks recently called on business leaders to pretty much lean in with government, and I quote unquote, to tackle the pressing national issues here. And of course, the Cayman Islands Real Estate Brokers Association, CERIBA, has announced the initiative that starting February of 2026, grants of up to $5,000 CI dollars will be available to first-time Caymanian home buyers. Now, what this means is that this effort aligns with exactly what was one of the strategic broad outcomes in what the government tabled on the floor of Parliament on housing, infrastructure, and environment, which says that they were going to prioritize affordable housing and sustainable development. So, yeah, this is a step in the right direction. It is showing where business owners are actually working hand in hand and trying to do their part with the government and then making it more accessible for you, or seeing it possibly closer, one step closer, of all of those who aspire to be their own homeowners. So what this means for Caymanians is, if you're planning, if you're dreaming for owning your first time home, the new support is on the horizon right here come February 2026. And it also shows that when the government and the business collaborate, guess what? Citizens stand to gain tangible ways. So kudos to them. Thank you for the CERIBA stepping up to the plate. And, by combining this public policy direction with private sector resources, we here in the Cayman Islands will be seeing a model where the government sets the vision. Guess what? The business provides the support. And who benefits directly? The citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is great news. We're hoping more industries step up to this plate, because this is definitely signaling a shift towards shared responsibility. Yeah, that's exactly what it's signaling. And housing affordability is no longer just a government issue, but it's a collective effort by everyone. So there we go. Congratulations to all of them. And that is one of the New Year's resolutions I'm quite sure that many of us will actually be looking forward to. Yeah. So there you have it. Cayman, the mic is open, 345-936-8255. It's open mic on Sabrina Speaks this evening. So if the topic that's on your mind is, let's say, the referendum, the immigration reform, Caymanian identity, the whole island is talking about it, as I said, upon entry. And we just want to talk about it here. We're going to entertain you today. Let's see who is here with us. Good afternoon to you. Hi, Jimbo. How are you? Hello, hello, hello. Damian Henry. Oh, yeah, boy. Regulars are to class. Connie Bonnie, how are you? Hey, Robert. Marshall. It's good to have you here. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. It's open mic here this evening. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina. How are you?
Hi, Alfred. I'm fine.
I sent you a link because I wanted you to, not trying to beat a dead horse or anything, but I was thinking more about this petition that we talked about last night. And I sent you a website because I wanted you to look at it with me. Because I was reading more of it, I was looking more at it, and the more and more I read, the more and more I don't like it.
Oh boy. Well, I hope I'm technically savvy enough to do all of this sharing of screen and don't boot myself out. You know me. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. So, because I'll admit to not having read it before. I heard about it circulating, but I haven't really read it, and I don't know that. I wanted to see exactly what it was saying, and when I read it last night and this morning, what I found is that it's trying to sell itself as protecting Caymanians, but it's actually a bait and switch.
Okay,
right?
How did you come to that conclusion? I'm going to post the link in my comments, so just in case, there we go. I shared the link. I'm going to try to share the screen, but go ahead. get into the nooks and crannies of how you came to that conclusion. I'm trying to work some stuff behind the scenes.
For one, it opens with identity and fairness language. So it uses words like native, indigenous, generational rights.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I read more, it just pivoted into what I call like almost like this bloodline gating, and then this religious gatekeeping and political control. You know, who may lead and who deserves priority benefits. And for me, it's not so much a policy proposal to solve real issues for Caymanians. To me, it seems more like an attempt to hard code ancestry and a specific religious cultural order into law.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do we? Somebody shared yesterday in the comments, because we're seeing it's like it's just gone viral now post the passing of the immigration bill, right? But I was informed yesterday, and I posted the comment on the screen, that this petition has been around for some time. It didn't just come out of left field last week, Friday. Apparently, this has been around. Do we have any idea who's behind it?
well, I don't know, but I see that it requires 5,000 signatures, and,
Yes.
and they've barely touched just over 1,000. So I mean, I guess it's not.
Are you seeing my
know.
screen? Are you guys seeing my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
No, I can't see your screen.
Okay.
I'm looking at you now.
All right.
Not a bad view from what I'm looking at, but
Oh
I
Lord,
can't see the screen.
it's probably delayed. Thank you. Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Let me see what I'm seeing here. No. Yeah, I'm trying to share this with the screen so that we can go through this. But it's telling me that you guys should be seeing my screen. Yeah. But go ahead, my love, just so we don't have dead air. I need your opinion on this.
Well, I have a few issues with the petition.
Go
itself.
ahead.
It part of the definition of a quote unquote generational Caymanian is that, you know, you have to be traceable back to 1930, as we touched on last night.
Mm-hmm.
Why 1930? Why not 1950? Why not 1900? I mean, it just seems really arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, you know, it had me thinking, it sounds official, but it sort of functions like a trap door, because what now if somebody's records aren't perfect, and does that mean that their identity doesn't count? And I think that, you know, if people were to take this seriously, which thankfully it looks like they're not taking it seriously,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is how you manufacture exclusion while pretending that you're just defining this thing, you know, whatever. Right. So like what you have pulled up there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it worked.
Says,
Yay, I did it.
Yes. Yeah, it works.
Go ahead.
Right. So it says a generational / indigenous / native Caymanian is qualified as a person who meets all of the following requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, one of my questions to the petitioners is, why did they stop at 1930?
Mm-hmm.
Why not 1900? Why not 1950? Why not 1970? You know, like I said, the date is arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, if you have to prove that you have ancestry and the records aren't perfect, I mean, does that mean your identity doesn't count?
Well, it's hard to answer that because you don't have the background information on it. I don't know why the magic number of 1930, because if this is just for gathering of information to, let's say, chart the direction or the course for the next tranche of immigration reform, maybe the main fact that you're asking this question will be used as information gathering to determine where to go. Because I can remember for quite some time, persons were asking, why isn't it possible for persons to claim Caymanian status on the grounds of descent going back to great-great-grandparents? It stops at grandparent or great-grandparent. So if, let's say it goes back to 2, it stops right now at grandparent. They're asking, why can't it go back to great-grandparents? And then there was somebody saying, why not great-great? Do two. Maybe that's where the 1930 came from. I don't know. I can't speak on this because I don't know why 1930.
Yeah, it seems really arbitrary because then you also have I know somebody who's a grandmother right now and she not hit 40 yet.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
So, I mean, if her grandchild's, great grandmother was born in the 1960s or 1950s, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and they've been Caymanian throughout, but because the great grandmother hasn't been, wasn't born at 1930. I mean, let's say they can't prove beyond that. I mean, all of a sudden now that person is not a generational Caymanian. I don't know. I just have an issue with like, why did they pick 1930?
I don't know.
Right?
Well, without it being identified as who's behind it, maybe that's why the numbers are somewhat low at this time. Maybe it's because it's the season as well. We're having, but I know one thing for sure, it's actually being talked about. It's being talked about in conjunction with the immigration bill that was recently passed. And I think a lot of people are actually getting the two mixed up because some of the questions that are being posed here, like the definitions, people are actually getting it mixed up with the definitions of what they're thinking in the new bill that was just passed. So it's two separate conversations. But for some reason, it's getting intertwined with the bill that was just passed.
Well, another issue I have with the petition, I mean, just taking that at face value, is the petition seems to frame, actually no, it doesn't seem to frame, it does frame Cayman as having a quote unquote Christian foundation, and then warns that otherwise someone of another religion, and it explicitly calls out Muslims, right? Could be making laws. So if you, so I'm
If I
looking at
click
the
on
screen.
this, if I click on that, the Christian Foundation.
Right. No, scroll down a little more.
Religious freedoms. Religious freedom. We must protect our Christian foundation. Without this definition, someone of a different religion, example, Muslim, could be making our laws. Oh, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, this is where the petition steps in it really hard, right? Because it isn't arguing competence, policy, or governance, right? It's implying that certain faiths or people of certain faiths are inherently disqualifying. So to me, it reads very much as it turns quote unquote protect Cayman into protect Cayman from those people, whoever those people are. And to me, it comes across as panic written as law. And in my view, it's also strategically self-defeating because even people who love Cayman's Christian culture can see how dangerous it is to tie political legitimacy to religion. Right?
Right.
Another problem I have with the petition is that it talks about wanting priority access or given priority access to housing, trust, and scholarships for again, these generational Caymanians. But, people are most squeezed by cost of living. The people most squeezed by cost of living are the young Caymanians, the Caymanians without perfect paperwork, because some may be excluded. And then again, you have families with mixed backgrounds. And I kind of feel like that was excluded by design. And if the goal of the petitioners to ease pressure, I think you need to prioritize need and Caymanian status and not necessarily this bloodline purity.
Right.
And all this petition is going to do is it's going to guarantee resentment in every direction. And
you're feeling that with the somewhat tension and the heat of some sort of divide, there's one thing of defending who we are or preserving our identity. But as what is stated here with the religious freedom part of it, that is that's even more separation. Whether or not you want to like this religious, this grouping, however you want to categorize them, that isn't neutral ground. That is singling out, even though they used it as an example.
Correct. So, I mean, after stripping away the fear, right? Because to me, this whole thing just reeks of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And after you remove, this bloodline test, and you remove the religious warning, and you remove the leadership exclusion, and you removed this sort of unsourced demographic padding, what do you have left?
Yeah.
Not much.
Interesting.
Right?
You look at the leadership requirements. Members of Parliament, Premier, and Deputy Governor must be generational Caymanians to maintain our cultural and religious foundations. And then when you go down to the religious freedoms, that's where that comes in. So you got to really look at all of them to see how they're tied in.
Mm-hmm. And to me, the petition isn't a coherent reform package.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like a status and identity manifesto, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
And if the real concern is Caymanian security and identity,
Mm-hmm.
we don't need that term generational Caymanian as a rights-bearing class, right? What we need are enforceable workplace standards. I believe Siobhan talked about bullying in the workplace. That's also a real thing. Enforceable anti-bullying protections, transparent Caymanian hiring and promotion pipelines,
Mm-hmm.
housing supply, affordability measures, infrastructure-linked population planning, cultural investment into our language, our dialect, our heritage, into the national curriculum, and clear immigration rules that are predictable and fair. So I don't think any of that requires turning Caymanian into a ranked bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's my soapbox for the evening.
Oh, no, I thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for pushing me to do this so that we can have it on the screen to see exactly in detail what the petition is saying, because it asks this part about the cultural preservation. We are concerned that our culture, way of life, and Christian values will be lost if determined by non-generational Caymanians. But caller, we have persons, Caymanians, who are right now born into homes of Christian foundation, have found themselves going off for tertiary studies and have changed their Christian beliefs and are now into other groups, such as Muslims. What do we say? That doesn't take away from them being Caymanian, whatever they so choose. So even with this part of leadership requirements, we don't know if members of our parliament or deputy governor or premier, at the end of the day, if their beliefs change and they become one of these other religions that is not what we traditionally raised up being. So what are we saying? Are we saying that is quite interesting.
And you don't even have to go that far, Auntie Sabrina, because again, why stop at another religion?
Correct.
When you look at Christianity itself as it's practiced in Cayman, right? We have the Presbyterian Church, we have the Catholic Church, we have Seventh-day Adventists, we have Church of God, we have a number of different Christian denominations. I mean, are you gonna? Is the next step gonna be all right? Well, you're not enough to be a Christian. You have to have the right version of Christianity. Oh, and by the way, my version is the correct version. All other versions are false.
Well, I see the subheadings here, and them justifying exactly what it means to sign this petition. But again, trying to get 5,000 to sign this, then what? What happens next? You got the definition. Why it matters is here, and then you sign. So you got the definition that is clearly outlined here for the generational Caymanian, that you're born here in the islands, and they have the example. has parents born in the Cayman Islands, where John and Mary must have at least one parent who was born in the Cayman Islands, and grandparent born in the Cayman Islands. That parent, for example, John or Mary's grandparent, must also have been born in the Cayman Islands, and that grandparent must also have had a parent, for example, John or Mary's great grandparent, who was born in the Cayman Islands. So this is part and parcel of the definition of what is a generational Caymanian, right? So this is what, in this petition, the official definition of a native indigenous generational Caymanian would be. And then the lineage would have to be traceable, as we alluded to earlier on, to 1930, which is where you're like, why 1930?
Why 1930?
Mm-hmm. And then this is justification of why we need, or why this petition needs to define a generational Caymanian. And this is why: Christian foundation, electoral demographics, leadership requirements, protecting our laws, sacrifices of our ancestors, housing, trust priority, scholarships, cultural preservation, moral and legal duty, and religious freedoms. That is the justification for what I'm understanding now with coming up with this definition. You may not agree with it, but I'm wondering if you can sign up on this and whether or not there is space for you to make remarks. Are you a generational Caymanian? Yeah, share this petition. Yeah, if it gives, I haven't gone into it. But if it gives the ability for persons to actually explain or to give their reasons, I don't know.
Well, I made my thoughts on where I stand on the thing last night. I mean, I think if the aim is to protect Caymanians and Cayman culture, there are other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Then putting it into law. Because as I said last night, what tangible benefits? I mean, if you're going to go to the trouble of enshrining it in a definition of Native Caymanian into law,
Mm-hmm.
what are the tangible benefits? I mean, they mentioned, oh Lord, what do you call it? Just scroll down on it again for me, please.
Where on the definition? Where?
No, man, there's something. Let me see if I can put it on my. Wait there. Housing, trust priority,
Mm-hmm.
scholarship access.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why is it that generational Caymanians? I mean, like, if a person is Caymanian and they get a scholarship, for instance, they're bonded to the government, they're bonded to Cayman to come back here. So, what advantage would a generational Caymanian give that I guess a non-gen or a new Caymanian would give? They both have to come back after going to school, and give up their talents or give up what they learned in school back to the community anyway. I mean,
what I get for this is access to scholarship, saying that generational Caymanians are waiting in line for scholarships and educational resources that should prioritize them first. So the whole idea about the scholarship is that if you are a generational Caymanian, you shouldn't have to wait in line. So remember, Danny was saying as of right and by grant. So let's say if you're a status holder by way of grant, which is the one that goes to the board, saved by descent, saved by you having status through this generational, you should not be at the top of the line when it comes to accessing scholarships. What I get from this is that automatically, once you can prove descendants, you automatically get to the top of the pile. Anybody gets here under grounds of naturalization that has no lineage, no connection. You just got here based on length of time. You get to the back of the line when we get to you first. When we get to you, we will, but we have to deal with the generational Caymanians first. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, but again, to the petitioners who formed this petition, I mean, what if I fit the bill of a generational Caymanian, but I'm just not able.
So
Either I don't have good records, or my records are I don't have access to those records to prove
it's your word against
that.
theirs. You gotta
You
gotta check the
understand?
box. You gotta check the
And then,
box.
well, exactly. So then that puts me at a disadvantage. Then
Well,
what
nothing
if
a
I'm
little
one of those?
DNA couldn't do if you say that you and I are brothers and sisters, but our parents hid it from each other, and we do DNA. I don't know. I'm just using this as an example. I'm quite sure that if we had to prove connection and our results come back close enough, then that should be able to stand. This is just for example purposes. Because sometimes even proven on the grounds of descent, save with the current law right now, there have been instances where the board has considered sworn affidavits from persons to support other people's applications on the grounds of descent, and the board can use those sworn affidavits where sometimes the names are a little bit off or they don't align. And sometimes the board will actually take sworn affidavits from individuals to justify a case. Better if
Yeah,
you can
but
get a
then
DNA.
yeah, but then it would depend on who's on the board. Then it becomes the luck of the draw to what's
Correct.
on the board.
Correct. Because you also need someone who would know the background information as well to make it all make sense.
For me, I think the petition as it reads, I think it's a manifesto for status and identity. And if what you're saying is correct, that this petition has been circulating for a while, and
That's what
not
I've been
it doesn't.
told. This is the first time. I've only seen it pop up on my timeline since Friday. So you know where you can actually, and it was shared with me through somebody else via WhatsApp link, and it has been shared on WhatsApps, but only since it was shared with me and we brought it up here on the platform that afternoon that I was speaking about it was the first time that I even opened up the link. But since then, I have been seeing it on all the timelines, and there has been some chatter about it. But then someone commented yesterday that apparently this has been in circulation for a while. It didn't just come out of left field on Friday. But my first time seeing it was when it was shared with me via WhatsApp. And like I said, now because it's probably getting traction, the algorithms now is beefed up and you're seeing it more on your social media platforms and so forth.
Let me ask you a question. Let's entertain this for a little bit, right? I mean, I'll be devil's advocate. We all know I like to be in the devil pro bono.
Are we done
But
sharing
when you
screen?
have, sure.
Okay.
Let's say that this goes through, and let's say that real benefits. What are your thoughts, Auntie Sabrina, on perhaps one of the benefits of generational Caymanian is that you can own as many properties as you want in Cayman, and you don't have to pay a dime of stamp duty to the government.
What do I feel about that?
Well, I mean, like how in the States they have a legal definition as to who is a Native American, and they've tied tangible real world benefits for that definition.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to go ahead and do that, I'm asking you, what are your thoughts on removing stamp duty for quote unquote generational Caymanian?
Remember, the government makes its revenue, and the mere fact that we've now seen the premier lean in and private sector has now leaned in to try and ease and giving this ease of $5,000 just because of generational Caymanian. It's a hard line because all of these revenues being collected makes the country run. Now, generational Caymanians themselves are already, in my humble opinion, getting a break. First-time homeowners, no stamp duty. Second property, you can get up to 3, I understand, based on the amount. Now, if you're just going to do that carte blanche, I would say we already got it in practice. It's already in practice. It's a lot of people did not even realize that as Caymanians, forget the generational bit, okay? Caymanians. A lot of people didn't even realize that you could have done multiple properties. And once you made the request and it's subject for approval by the minister, and sometimes that has to go to cabinet for support. You know how much Caymanians did not realize that you could do multiple properties based on the amount, and it's to the discretion of the minister at that time. So I would say, Alfred, that it's already in practice.
Or how many?
But you just
okay,
want to
well, then
define it now to say persons who don't have the lineage, they can't get it. I think that's gonna be challenged.
well, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I
I mean,
know, I know.
I'm not for it. Let me sweeten the deal then. If you can prove that you're generational Caymanian and you've already paid stamp duties on all your properties, could the government refund that money to you?
No, it's a transitional clause. Come on. No, come on. There will be, as we continue to evolve, as we continue to modernize, other things will come that maybe that will be some sort of a payback in the future. But if that's the case, then, oh my gosh, do you know, we trying to balance the budget right now? Can you imagine if that had to be done? I understand it's devil's advocate, but just how we have a transitional clause in the legislation right now, this bill, it would be the same thing. Now, if they want to say any properties bought, let's say 3 or 5 years, we will give you a portion of it back. That's up for the government of the day to consider, but how is it going to impact the bottom line when your country is already facing ways of trying to keep the country running without indirect and direct taxing its people? It's a delicate balance, let me tell you, Alfred. And with what we're being faced right now, just trying to balance the budget, you're seeing even with the naturalization, the fees and stuff were announced today going up. These are all revenue measures in order to keep our country going so that we can somewhat enjoy whatever type of life we're having here and quality of life. You should be seeing some of these things represented in our garbage being collected, the frequency and the type of equipment that is being used, how our roads are maintained and kept, how we should be able to access any public services such as healthcare and public health, even though they're a statutory authority, and the efficiencies of government processes with when you're actually doing and transacting business with government. Now, housing and access to housing is some of the things that you benefit your people from with all of these revenues. Now, we have heard, let's get the cost of living down. And one of the ways we can do that discussion is lowering utilities. Now, how Sariba has leaned in and say, this is what we're going to do. Maybe, will the utilities do the same? Will CUC do the same? Remember, Water Authority is a statutory authority, okay? They're not private. The UC is. Will that be the next tranche of conversations that will be had? Let's see. Will the Bankers Association then look at collaborating now that we have Sariba on board and all that sort of stuff? Will the Cayman Finance and the banking, they all look at doing things that makes it easier then for generational Caymanian, however you want to call us? Will there be something else where would there be a different set of interest rates then? We don't know. We don't know. The talks are being had. But if that's where we're going, Sariba has definitely made a step in the right direction. Will other industries lean in and try to work with the government to ease the pressure on, let's say, utilities and loans for mortgages, that sort of stuff? Is this the step in the right direction? I think it is. It shows the collaboration, in my humble opinion. Now let's see what other industries will do. But somebody's paying for whatever is being given back, some way, somehow. Somebody's gonna pay some way, somehow.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
There we go. So how far are we going with it?
Anyway, I just thought I'd play devil's advocate with you.
No problem. Thank you for your
Show.
feedback. Yep.
You look lovely as always.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night. We want to thank Alfred for calling in, and we thank him for his contribution. He's always thought-provoking, and it definitely gives you food for thought. The phone lines are open, 936-8255, to share your perspective. What are your views? What are your thoughts? What's keeping you going? But yeah, like what I said, in regards to this petition, to be honest, you'd have it from one perspective where
Caymanians and some Caymanians may actually see this bill as another step in making it so much easier for expats. They may see this this whole thing as protecting. I think Mr. Balika said that yesterday. And at the end of the day, for them to push back and say, look, this is my turf now. This is what we're going to do. Just let me define it. And here are the boundaries. We're drawing the line in the sand, right? They may worry as well. Some Caymanians may actually look at it from the perspective where while the economy benefits, Caymanians themselves are, I mentioned this yesterday, we're already outnumbered. So it's almost like an overshadowed, you're feeling overshadowed in your own country. And then from another perspective, you will have, supporters argue that it's about stability. And Cayman economy depends on foreign workers, and its legislation must actually have that balance. You can look at it from all sides. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speak. The mic is open today. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Sabrina. I had two issues I wanted to raise with you, but let me begin with what you've been discussing, the petition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is very interesting. The way I see the petition is like it is really a broader issue. I'm not saying the petition itself is necessarily a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the petition might be imperfect in terms of the way it defines generational Caymanians.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's been this mention that how do you pick 1930?
Mm-hmm.
It's arbitrary.
Yes, that was the question.
Yeah, in a sense, it's arbitrary, but a lot of legislation of this kind very often picks a date which is maybe not entirely arbitrary, but is intended to safeguard something.
Mm.
Because I would imagine, for example, in 1930, everybody who was in the Cayman Islands, the majority, I imagine 90%, would have considered themselves, unless they were directly from the UK. But anybody who was here in 1930, the chances that they were here for a couple of generations, and there is a certain nucleus of people who are considered to be Caymanian. So as much as I appreciate the point that it may be somewhat arbitrary, but it's only somewhat arbitrary because it is trying to say those who have roots in here, starting from about the time that Cayman started being a nation, those are the people really who form the nucleus of the society.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see that is not a fundamental problem, and neither is the other aspects of the petition. I do notice that there are some issues there as well, like the parentage. Why do we go only to a great-grandparent or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
All those issues, the way I see them, are issues that can be discussed and a certain common denominator arrived at.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think to try and deny that there are certain people who call them generational Caymanians, call them like Roy Borden established Caymanians, or call them, as Danny Warren calls them, Caymanian, as distinguished from New Caymanian. There are certain people who are considered to be the core. And those people, clearly today, when they say, we are a minority in our own country, what is the yardstick they are using? There is a certain perception. There's a certain perception that there are certain people who are considered to be real Caymanians, and that if those become a minority, that is a problem. So you can't deny that there is a certain core group to whom the country originally belonged, and that those people are feeling today that they are being pushed aside. Now, the other thing about that is that this has become really an issue because successive governments have not dealt with the issue of giving Caymanians advantage in the workplace and ensuring that they limit. Exactly, You see, if you go to a big country where, say, 90% of the people are considered to be nationals in a historical sense of that country, and they say 10% of naturalized people, this issue wouldn't arise really, because the people will know that 90% of us are generational in this country. We trace our lineage to this country. The 10% who come in, well, they are a small group. They are not overtaking us. And so they are not a problem. They will be tolerated and maybe even celebrated to some extent. Okay? So I really think that the petition, well, first of all, I also doubt that they will reach 5,000, although I don't know, because from my other social media groups, the Cayman social groups, the people are divided about the petition. They are divided about, precisely what your previous caller was talking about, certain aspects of it. How are you going to define this? I've read some people there saying, oh, well, but you see, how come they are saying it should be your father, not your mother? And me, I'm not born here, and so on. And these are people I know personally, and I've always considered them to be Caymanians as of right. But I think that the issue should not be to say the petition is a problem. I think the issue should be more to try and tweak the petition so that it can appeal to a larger group of people who've got a historical ties to Cayman. So that's it. Now, we see they now come to the current immigration law, Immigration Amendment Act. I mean, it's really a shame that it was passed in this form. And today I called one talk show host. I won't call his name. And we were talking about this very thing. And we were talking about the transitional provisions. How are they going to apply? And I told him, I said, you know what? Now, I was in a very emphatic mood. I called the people in government traitors, but I won't say that on your show. But that's what I called them.
No,
on
you
the other
didn't
show.
say it at all.
No, I didn't say it at all. I didn't say it. So you see, so I said, look, what they have failed to do in the other law is they have failed to have the proper transitional provisions. I told him, I said, the way it is written at the moment, if I'm in Cayman in February 2026, I'm in Cayman, and this comes into effect in March. In 9 years' time, what is the period now they are prescribing for PR? Is it 9 or 10?
You have to make the application by 9.
By 9,
by the end of your term limit. You have to have a submitted application for PR before you reach the end of your term limit. And we all know term limit is now 9 years.
It is now 9. So what it means is that if I come to Cayman in February 2026, my limit is not 8 years, which it is now. My limit will still be under the old law, meaning that in 8 years' time, I can apply for PR under the old law. Okay, and then if you are applying for status, and you came to Cayman in February 2026, now the currently status is 15 years. So if you count 15 years from 2026, it takes you to, I think it's 2041. You can come back in 2041 and apply for status under the current law, not the one they are bringing in force. Okay, and the reason it is like that is because of section. It is okay. It is. I'm looking at it now. I'm just trying to scroll to
the transition.
It is the
or
new section. Yes, the transition, which is section 35 of the bill, is clause 35 of the bill, which inserts a new section 83A. Now, if you go to 83A, uppercase A, the number subsection 7, it says, notwithstanding anything under the Immigration Transition Amendment and Validation Act 2025, meaning this very act, the term limit of a person who, A, was a worker under the Principal Act, and let me jump to the end, shall continue to run from the date on which the person became a worker, and the end of that person's term shall be calculated based on the date and time, whatever, in accordance with the Principal Act. So in other words, if you were a worker under this act, your period of time will be considered again under this act, under the current law. Okay, again, so this is the provision which is essentially saying, no. For all of you who are here before this act comes into force, the old law continues to apply to you for the next 9 years, for the next 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason I bring it up and the reason I mention this person I was speaking to is because the other person said, oh no, the only people who will be grandfathered in will be those who have already applied and those whose cases are going to judicial review. Now, there is a provision specifically talking about those, in the same section.
Mm-hmm.
But what he didn't seem to know, and this is a knowledgeable person, he didn't seem to know that actually people who are here in Cayman up to now
Mm-hmm.
will always apply under the old law. Now, why again am I emphasizing this? It is because the government has
Did not explain.
really explained. Yeah, because when first they announced it, when I think it was the premier and the deputy governor went on, and this is like what it was the first press conference. They said this will not apply to those people who are already here. They said that specifically at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they've written here. So people have asked questions. I know that when I was watching one of the town halls, I think it was Daniel Warren Jr. who asked the minister, say, when you say that you exclude those people who have already begun their journey, what do you mean? The minister didn't quite answer that. But the way it seems, when they say those who have begun their journey, they just mean people
who's
who are
already here. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people do not understand that.
So anyone who is here
been,
now will always be preserved based on what is explained, will always be preserved under the old law. Everything that was explained under the new law that is expected to come into effect in March will only impact those individuals who are on island, legal and ordinary resident as at the date in March it comes into effect, or an application received by WORC or otherwise on or after the date it comes in effect in March. So let's say it's the 1st of March. If your application is received on or after March 1st, you would be under the new law.
Under the new law.
Yes.
Or if you came to Cayman on or after the 1st of March. Yeah.
Yes, then this would imply. But if you come 24 hours before, you would be preserved under the current law.
Exactly. And what it means, therefore, is these two aspects, PR and status grants, will not begin to bite until at the end of 9 years.
9 years.
Then 15 years.
You will not see the impacts for 9 years and 15 years.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a jolt. Don't care how you look at it at this time. Yeah. We will not see the impacts for 9 and 15 years. So we have a double tranche. We have 2 licks.
Yeah.
First lick is at year 9 and the second lick is at year 15.
Yes. And you see, the problem then is that when you say, what have you done for now? Not very much, to be frank with you, because the principal part of the legislation was to limit status grants and PR grants. And when you say these now are all delayed until the 9th year and the 15th year, you haven't done anything. And then what is the danger? The danger, of course, is that the population in Cayman keeps going up.
Yeah, it keeps going up with, and hold on, remember, we still don't know the backlog pretty much of what's still outstanding. I stand to be corrected because the stats that we were granted or stated was those applications that were approved. Do we have stats as to how much are still pending? I stand to be corrected.
That's the other thing. Well, yes, we haven't been given those statistics because usually I don't think they would give on the ESO website, they would normally not give those which are pending. However, in the process of discussing the legislation, that is a relevant point. The minister should be able to have gotten those statistics and be able to say, okay, guys, He did give statistics about the last 10 years. Okay, fine. He should have given statistics also for the beginning this year, the first 3 quarters, how many PRs and status grants have been given. And then he would have said, okay, in terms of what's pending as well, these are the figures I have as of this date, so that people know exactly where these figures are going. I believe personally, my guess is that perhaps there might be a reduction of grants, maybe 15%, but even that I doubt. The chances are that even if there's that little reduction, I think overall in the next 9 to 15 years, there will be an increase in PR and status grants because the population it will be increasing. And I do not believe that these measures will have the effect that they are hoping to have. Oh, by the way, remember that in 9 to 15 years, another government may come in and say, well, we disagree with this period, about 20 years is too long. We have received petitions from Caymanian women who say, well, you see, their husband can't get status and so on and so forth. So it could change, just like they did with TLEPs.
Which will be another balloon of applications. Let's say it's reversed for a lesser time or go back to what it is. But, oh gosh, yeah, that is quite interesting. What we're not looking at, though, Calder, what we're not looking at is the mere fact that every meeting of a board, there are applications right now that have been pending for years in some cases. And these are not included in these stats that we're seeing right here, right now.
Yeah, they're not included. And there are some which sometimes they've gone there and then they ask for further information, then they are delayed a little bit, and there are all those. It goes back, Sabrina, to the transparency of this whole matter. But let me touch the second issue I was going to discuss, which is the one about marriage. They are now saying that you can't get status if you by marriage 15. Until I think now they're 15 years. I think currently it's 7.
It's 7 years like now, 15 years for what is being proposed. At one point, it was supposed to be 20. I had heard the number was 20 years. Yeah.
Yes. See, I kind of gravitate to the view of the Honorable Kenneth Bryan when he said that one might be unreasonable. You know, that to say you can't get status through marriage until 15 years. I get a feeling that was driven more by a feeling that most marriages are sham marriages. Okay, I think they are now punishing genuine
the
marriages,
innocent suffering for the guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Because in a modern society and in Cayman in particular, I think the divorce rate, I don't want to be negative, it's kind of high. A lot of good marriages do end after 8, 9, or 10 years. Okay, the ones that last up to 15 years, I think are the exception rather than the rule. So to somehow pass a law which seems to presume that if you get divorced before 15 years, somehow your marriage was a sham. You know, I have a little bit of a problem with that, because you're just going to make a lot of innocent people, Caymanians, who are in genuine marriages, and maybe they run into a problem in the 10th year. By that time, maybe they put 2 children. And then you say, well, like Kenneth was saying in the house, and then the children will be saying, oh, so you mean daddy doesn't have status here? No, so can he be sent away, you know? I think there's a problem there. Now, is it an issue that needs to be dealt with? Yes. But one way to deal with it is, and they've been doing this, but I just don't know to what extent, is to ensure that the enforcement of these laws relating to sham marriages are better. You might want to give marriage officers a little bit more power to question, and other people who are involved in that. That's one. The other one, which I thought was very reasonable from Kenneth, he said, look, why don't you keep it at 7, but you retain a power to revoke it if the marriage,
doesn't subsist?
doesn't subsist, In other words, I mean, okay, you give it at 7. But if you want to give a little bit more power to revoke it, like if it turns out that the marriage was a sham or some other factor which comes in, or the man is violent or this and that, like in other words, give yourself a discretion to be able to revoke it. That might work out a little bit. It's a more balanced way of dealing with the issue, rather than just saying, well, all of you now, whether it was a genuine marriage or not, you are going to have to be married for 15 years. I just think that they
looking at it from the other side, looking at it from the flip side, immigration board, immigration, as we know it, WORC, or the Caymanian Status and Permanent Residency Board, may not want to find themselves in a mediation or mediator type thing when it comes to immigration, because we have seen that where back in the day, you would just constantly threaten, use immigration as a holding stick over your head. And they just write a letter in saying, look, this is what's happening, yada, yada, yada. Please take it away. They mean me no good. But yet they have not made any moves to end the marriage by way of a legal separation or a divorce. And they would use immigration and the boards as this stick to try and normalize their relationship. And I feel that is probably one of the reasons why they don't want to probably go in there, because then it'll be this back and forth of the board trying to make a decision. You kiss your makeup and then, oh, I withdraw it. Do you know what? So it's really hard when it comes to marriages, but getting immigration and the boards and councils, whatever you want to call them, to actually be there as mediators into a personal relationship, there's no place for that in the law. It's either black or it's white.
Yeah, and those are aspects of the law which you want to be clear, and you want them to be subject to very little discretion, if at all.
Correct.
Like, for example,
that's the word, discretion. Take away the discretion, which was the birth of the point system for PR. The whole they wanted to remove discretion from the boards, then it wouldn't get personal. And then that's where the point system, either black or you're white, you either got property or you don't have property, and this is how much the property has. They wanted to remove discretionary measures from a board so that there would be less accusations that you bought out a board or this is your government. So anybody now who's applying for PR, if you're friends with this one, friends with that one, you would get it. So if it was a rigid system, whether or not it worked or not, the point system says, babe, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You either make the points or you don't. Then you can't really point the fingers and say, well, the board took favor of me, and you understand? So that word discretion, Mr. Balika, is the impetus of why certain things were put in place from back in the day.
Actually, you know what? I'm not quite sure that I even knew that. I'm just learning that now, but I do see how, once you say, well, these are the number of points you get under each category, the amount of discretion is reduced. Okay?
Correct.
I mean, there will be cases where, for example, they say, okay, for postgraduate education or whatever, it is 20 points. When you get it in there, like if you appear, very often they'll give you 20, but if they think you are not quite, like it's not the best postgraduate, they might give you 15 and so on. But still, the discretion is reduced.
Exactly.
Because they
far
reduced. Exercise it. I remember one time speaking to somebody who was on the immigration board, and they were telling me that there were times when they would try to get to their car to get home, and the Caymanian woman comes to them and they say, how come you renew the work permit of that person who is, dating my husband, and it was a very, very difficult time, I understand, because sometimes you will know this better than I do, like some women used to write to the board and make allegations, and then the board would make a decision. But then the person who is being accused does not know that the accusation was made.
And they just got a mindful to revoke, mindful, we've just come to our attention.
And we're minded to revoke, and you show us cause. But then So I understand that's how that amendment came in, to say that if there is an anonymous or a letter which comes in, or some communication to say something about why your work permit should not be granted, you should be told the essence of that allegation, so that you've got an opportunity to respond to it. Because I think now that is in the law, and it arose from some legal advice which the AG gave, to say you can't revoke on the basis of a reason which you haven't given to the person who is applying, so that they can have a chance to rebut it. So, well, but I think, as you're saying, you want to reduce the amount of discretion, and we'll see how this is going to work.
But we still don't even know.
I just
remember we had said that you won't see the impacts of this reform for 9 years and then 15. Mm-hmm. Now we may see a decline in even PR applications if the PR point system is revised, because we still don't know if that's a part. We don't know. We don't know if that's going to be amended.
We don't know whether that is. Yeah, whether that is going to be amended. I know that they've at least spoken about. They say they want to remove the property requirement.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I think they've also said, as you are saying, that they want to really look at the whole system and see how that's going to work.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but to be frank with you, I'm not even quite sure the extent to which the requirement for property is responsible for the increase in prices. I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked at statistics. My suspicion is that the main reason why prices are very high in Cayman is, of course, it's an attractive destination.
Supply and demand.
Exactly. And because it's in the US market, you see, it's not like the BVI where you can't buy land unless you are a belonger. Anybody can just come and buy land. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that is a greater factor in the price of land and housing in the Cayman Islands than the property aspect. I think the property aspect also it contributes to it, but I just don't think that's the main thing. But again, that's not to say they shouldn't deal with it, but I think they should deal with it, but just realize that it is unlikely to have a big dent in bringing prices down.
You see, under the current regulations, it says that you should show evidence where you've invested in developed real estate, showing where you have put 20,000 CI. And that could include stamp duty, closing costs, any upgrades. Let's say I bought an apartment, and once I can justify and provide receipts that I put in addition to other stuff, I did upgrades to the property, and I can justify it. That can go towards actually getting points. Let's say I bought a raw piece of land for, let's say, 15,000. I'm just pulling numbers here, but I used another 5,000 or 15,000 to put fill in it. Once I can prove that aggregate went to that could go towards your investment. So the 20,000, those were some of the things that the board could take into consideration whilst they're considering an application back in the day. But to say the supply and demand, I've heard conversations where they're saying this stockpiling of property as well is posing a problem. And then you had the Airbnb as well. And then you've had developers building, but it wasn't building enough for locals to be able to afford. So there's a bigger picture at stake when it comes to accessing of homes. It's not that they're not in the market. It's just that we find that certain income brackets just can't meet the sale price of some of these. And even when you look at land, even when you purchase raw land, the cost of construction, the cost of actually preparing the grounds in order to be able to construct is another thing. And many times people just don't have it.
They don't have it. Well, these are some, that's why these issues are really so complex. From what I understand, in Bermuda, they created certain areas where only Bermudans could buy land, because they said, look, the extent to which the U.S. market has now just swallowed up the Bermuda market, the local people wouldn't afford it. So they said, well, in these certain areas, only local people can buy land.
But do you know how that would look at here? we Caymanians be saying, once you can afford it, we should be able to buy and live wherever we want. That's putting us like on a plantation. Just spin it based on how our culture is. And
yeah,
I stand to be corrected, but right now, isn't Bermuda having problems right now, despite all of the things that they did to protect their own? It's not right now. They're feeling the punch of persons wanting to invest. I stand to be corrected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have any information on that, but I wouldn't be surprised because the last election they had there were some land issues. I know they were discussing. I don't know whether this one was part of that. But you see, I mean, that's why legislation sometimes is so hard to do, and that's why very often what you want to do is have a regulatory impact assessment to say, if we do this, are we going to have what are the chances of us solving the problem? I would have loved to see some kind of study which says, okay, how many people buy land in Cayman who are not local people and later on apply for PR. That would be interesting, because you see, my view also is that a lot of people who come to Cayman, particularly those who are professionals, want to buy land anyway. Okay, want to buy a house anyway because they don't want to stay for 8 or 9 years and are paying rent. They want to buy a house anyway, and since they put the chance to buy a house without being without having status, I mean, the most natural thing is as soon as you come in, you want to buy a piece of land. Now, how many people really buy land purely because they want to apply for status? I don't know that there are very many. But I mean, that's a legitimate area for government to look at. But I think they just have to realize that it is unlikely to have the big impact on reducing prices that they might be thinking. I think the real impact is coming from the fact that anybody from anywhere can come to Cayman and buy land and buy a house. Well, I'll leave you there, but Sabrina, thanks very much for the time as usual, and always thought-provoking to talk to you.
Well, I'm hoping that it's always a pleasure for you to contribute to this space, like it is everybody. And we're hoping that what we've been doing in the past couple of weeks will actually create that opening where persons would feel just as confident as yourself, Denny, Siobhan, and anybody else who wants to actually come on, that we will see an increase in these discussions being had here. But I want to personally thank you, as usual, for weighing in, and we appreciate you. We appreciate your feedback.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much. By the way, I really liked your discussion yesterday. I know that the three of them were not agreeing. I agreed more with anybody, but the discussion really was very insightful from all angles. I really enjoyed that.
And one of the feedback, I get a lot of feedback, but it's not questions, it's more compliments, because they can see it from all three perspectives. And I'm like, well, what's your questions? Do you have concerns? No, they just like, keep it up, we're learning, we're seeing it from three different perspectives. So that's a good takeaway.
Well, count me among those people.
There we go. Yes, likewise.
Okay.
All right,
again.
sir.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care. Yes, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 345-936-8255. The phone lines are open. Dean Gillette says, kicking the can down the road. I'm assuming you were talking about we were talking about the status grants at that time. Scott EB says, making the marriage term longer than PR/rollover window is the point. Right now, the marriage of convenience allows them to stay in Cayman. By making it after the PR threshold, it will deter marriage for residency idea. Yes, to a degree, but what happens, Scott, when they have these babies and they can prove that they're actually a part of the children's life? I see the deterrence, don't get me wrong. We see the deterrence, but the big thing now, why penalize those legitimate marriages for persons now who are in it for the right reason? They're feeling as though they are being penalized because of this new legislation and what it will do for spouses of Caymanians. You have some that'll say, look, I didn't marry for status. I married for love. Crap happens and we just got to go our separate way. Then we'll have to go. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Will we now see the conversation come back up now where there's no fault to the marriage law come in play? Will that be something now that comes on board? That's a total different piece of legislation. That there have been discussions, and I understand that there is a piece of drafted legislation for the implementation of no-fault divorces. Right now, we've spoken on that before here in this show, that it's unreasonable behavior, separation, adultery, and that sort of stuff. But what if two persons realize that they can't make it and there's no fault? We've just decided amicably we're going to do it. That is one of the sections in the law that which persons are actually asking for. And I know persons who are in the legal field are praying that that is one of the pieces of legislation that comes before Parliament and is given the green light to go. Because on one hand, they're saying you're forcing persons to either go to have an adulterous relationship, or you're giving. It's hard to prove unreasonable behavior unless there's something really bad, and they're feeling that no fault could be something that makes the whole transition amicably and persons would go through. So let's see if that's one of the things, Scott, that comes on the table. Denver. It should be that Indigenous Caymanians only can purchase land in many areas of Cayman. Okay, let's see if that is the case. You don't feel, Denver, that people will feel that we're pigeonholing them into certain places if that's where we go? Just asking, devil's advocate here. Once you have the money, you should be able to, but I get what you say, earmarking, Denver, earmarking pieces of land that only Indigenous Caymanians can purchase. Take your comment. Wake up, Cayman. Cayman has no land to buy or very little. It's existing properties we have. Now, I think at the end of the day, you'll probably have to look at developed real estate and undeveloped, because there is a lot of land here, but how much will be bought? How much is owned by government? Or if that is going to be the case, Denver, as you alluded to earlier, would government then have to purchase X amount more land and have that earmarked for just Indigenous Caymanians? Bearing in mind, the Minister J. Ebanks has a number of places where, you have these affordable homes, but breaking it down into Indigenous Caymanians, generational Caymanians, and all that sort of stuff. Once you're Caymanian, you were able to actually get in under the National Housing Development Trust. So again, there's a lot of tweaking that is going to be needed from this, Denver. If they are in a marriage for love and not convenience, it should be no problem. Yeah, that's why I said at the end of the day, if it don't work, it just don't work. Dean, Cayman will forevermore remain a minority from this day going forward. We're already there, Dean, because we're not having children fast enough to really keep up, to be honest. Now, to tell you that isn't a possibility, that one day we will no longer be a minority, we are going to have to possibly be paying persons to have children, incentivize persons. And how are we going to deal with that from a national perspective? That's something maybe the government needs to consider. So yeah, let's see how that's going to go. So what? Cayman is only so big. We must protect ourselves. I agree with you, Denver. I agree. And this is why participation in discussions of this nature is so important, that we hear all of your perspective. But at the end of the day, somebody's seeing it from a different perspective. Somebody else is seeing it from a different perspective as well. It has become very topical because I think people are now being more in tuned, being more informed, and persons are asking the right questions. Individuals, common day-to-day members of civil society are actually having sound conversations around tables, and we are waking up. And I feel that at the end of the day, we are at a turning point here in the Cayman Islands, where you have been empowered, you have been emboldened, and you are asking the right questions. You are coming publicly and you are making your comments. And trust me, people are listening. Leaders are listening. And when more of these types of discussions are being had, and you can present your view, the other person present their view, and then you look at what the government is actually presenting, and you all hash it out, which is why speaking is so important. which is why spaces like this is so important. We need your views. We need your opinions. And trust me, they are listening. Wake Up, the Cayman Islands is saying, hello, Miss Sabrina. At the end of the show yesterday, you spoke briefly on dual citizenship. Could you elaborate on that a little more? Yeah. Oh, I did. Yes. There was a question asked whether or not we could have dual citizenship, like somebody gets Caymanian status, whether or not they would have to give up their citizenship from where they're coming from. The answer straight up is no. They do not have to give up their birthright citizenship when becoming Caymanian status holder, because of the mere fact that we are a British Overseas Territories jurisdiction that allows dual nationality, dual citizenship. So it's because of that very same nature that the Cayman Islands, it is a British Overseas Territory dependent jurisdiction. They allow persons to have dual citizenship. In many cases, people have 3-4 passports. It all depends on the country where is issuing their passport. In the Cayman Islands, our Cayman passport is a travel document. It doesn't make one a citizen. But outright, clean and straight, because the Cayman Islands is a British Overseas Territory jurisdiction, persons are allowed to hold multiple citizenships. So I hope, Wake Up, that answers your question or gives you more clarity. Miss Barbara G, how you doing, my sweet? Owning a house should in no way be considered in granting status, as it's driving up prices for everyone. Well, we heard a different side of that from Mr. Belika. One of the requirements, Miss Barbara, was whether or not you invested in property, that you were given a better chance of, and it was for PR, not for status. It was for permanent residency. For those persons who are here on work permits for 8 years or more, those persons were able to, once they can prove that they had invested in or on their way to owning property, and they could demonstrate where they have done an injection of X amount of dollars. The minimum was 20,000. Cayman bracket was a little less. Once you bought properties in the sister islands, it was less. And a number of these fees included closing fees and stamp duties that could go towards that 20,000. So in this case, it wasn't for status, Miss Barbara. It was for permanent resident. Scott, no fault divorce will further lower marriage numbers and the birth rate. But my love, people are asking for it. People are asking for it. The law is, you really think it would lower birth rate? Scott, no. I don't think it would, to be honest, the no fault, because the children are here whether or not. I mean, gosh, you're having anchor babies right now. But I don't really think it would do an impact on the birth rate. You may actually see an increase in marriage if the no fault divorce comes in play. So could be interesting, but it would be good to look at that, Scott. It would really be. I could be honest with you. If it's easier to get out of, I don't see why the numbers of marriages would go down. I see the numbers possibly of marriages going down. More deterrent for this annual declaration once you get your status. So you may last out for the 15 years and eventually qualifying for citizenship, Cayman status. But then this annual declaration for 7 years after you get it, or if you, for whatever reason, go off island for reasons, for work, for education or medical reasons, you possibly will risk the chance of losing it. I think that's more deterrent. People will be like, I can't fool with this crap. I'm going to marry you because I love you. And whatever the hoops and hurdles is, I guess we'll have to go through it. And this is why I said what I said earlier on. If it's going to work, it's going to work. And if it's not going to work, exit stage left. And that's where the no fault conversation came in. So I really think, to be honest, any deterrent of marriage, it wouldn't necessarily be that no fault. Just me. but I like your feedback. Give me your take on that. Look at it from the other side, Scott E.B. Look at it. Wilbert. Hi, Sabrina. What about rollover? Do they have something in place for it? Is it still 9 years? Currently, yes, the rollover is still 9 years. Once this new this new law that is being proposed did not change the rollover. The rollover for work permits remains the same. What has changed, Wilbert, is those persons who are married to Caymanians, the length of time it takes for them now to be eligible to apply for Caymanian status once they're married after this new law comes in effect. What we're hearing is that this new law will come into effect in March of 2026. So anybody who gets married between now and before this law come into effect, you would not have to wait for 15 years. You would still be eligible to apply for Caymanian status after 7 years. If you get married after this law comes into effect, then guess what? You then would have to wait for 15 years. That's how we're understanding it. That's the transition clause. If someone who just arrived here 6 months ago, 3 weeks ago, because they have already started their term limit under the current law, they will be eligible to benefit from all of what the current law in its stance is saying right now. This is why the last caller was alluding to that says anyone who's already here and have started their immigration journey, meaning you have already just started your term limit, you just came to take up a job, you just came to take up a government contract, let's say, you will be under the old law. You would not be dealt with under the law that was just passed because that's not yet in effect. That's going to come into effect from what we're hearing in March of 2026, Denver. Have you looked into the taxation of Bitcoin? No. People invested in hedge funds and are not going to be taxed as far as I know. Denver, remember the conversation? Oh, Danny, ear could be burning. Denny was saying that even conducting business here with Bitcoin, unless you deal with one of the, I think there are about two when I did my research, either one or two businesses here that are dealing with being able to trade Bitcoin currencies and all that sort of stuff. But your banks, our local banks, are not allowing you to engage in any transactions with Bitcoin. And for what my memory serves me is because that type of trading with that type of currency, Bitcoin or otherwise, is in direct competition with the banks. So if they see you're transacting any business, anything to do with Bitcoin, they have the right to decline you from doing any transaction with, let's say, your debit card or any online transfer with any companies to deal with Bitcoin. So no, I have not looked into taxation of Bitcoin. And I thank you for that feedback, but we have a lot apparently to go through here in Cayman when it comes to trading and doing business with the Bitcoin scene, from what I am understanding, and that's shared by information that Danny Warren has shared with us, to be honest with you. But it's going to be very interesting as we get into the digital age, where we're going as a whole, and whether or not our financial industry is also, I'm quite sure they got their hand on the pulse. It's for us to educate ourselves, to be prepared so that we're not caught off guard as regular members and citizens of a society. And then you just hear it when certain things then are put on the floor of Parliament, or we bring up a topic here, or one of you actually highlighted, as you've so rightly done, Denver, that the first time people are hearing it. But we have shared that here, that our local banks don't want you to be doing any transactions with your debit credit card once you're going through their bank with anything to deal with cryptocurrencies and that sort of stuff. So let's hope that in the future that may change. Now that somebody was asking about British citizenship, just to let you know and to break it down here for you for the sake of information, This is open mic here this evening. At any time, you can call in. You can give your questions. 936-8255. That's 345-936-8255 is the number to call. 7 o'clock, there's going to be football, Cayman football that comes on cmrtv.com. So I will be ending at 7 tonight to make way for the next content creator for the next episode that is for the next show that is in line after this edition of Sabrina Speaks. But just in case you missed it, if you are planning on applying for naturalization or British registration, starting January, this was official from the government, the Department of the Deputy Governor office. Starting January, the government, if you know, is raising the fees for people who want to become British Overseas Territory citizens here in Cayman. Now, naturalization, that's becoming a BOTC through a formal process. That cost used to be $625 CI. Now it's going to $1,300. And on the top of that, the filing fee is going to be jumping from $200 to $500. So altogether, if you're going to be applying, you will now pay $1,800 starting January for naturalization. Now, registration as a British Overseas Territory citizen for minors or children used to be $250. Now it's going to be $800. And the same, the CI filing fee of $500. So the $500 will be the filing fee. Now, what this means is that the total is $1,300 per person. And we know that there's a lot of marriage checks, that sort of stuff that has to be done. There's going to be a brand new, I understand, fee of $300 for if you're registering as a full British citizenship that didn't exist before. So pretty much you need to understand that all filing fees are non-refundable. So if your application doesn't go through, you don't get the filing fee back. You will not get that back. So this was being justified by the government to cover the real cost and what it takes to processing these applications. Like I alluded to earlier on, with background checks, verifying marriages. There's also a pledge ceremony that they normally have as well for the big swearing in, and working also with the UK Home Office as well with these, because many a times during the processing of these application, communication, emails, calls are going to be needed. So this additional fee now will somewhat offset those expenses. So even with these changes, the Cayman's fees will still lower than what other jurisdictions are paying, or even in the UK for similar applications. So if you think it's high, this is still lower than what you're paying for other applications, even in the UK, is what needs to be understood. So in plain terms, if you are applying to become a British Overseas Territory citizen, expect come January to pay almost double of what it used to be. For some, that's $1,800 now instead of $825. And if you're registering, it's CI $1,300 instead of $450, plus the new $300 fee for British citizen registration. Okay. And none of these fees are refundable. So I just want you to be aware of those things, that all of these fees will be impacting all of these applications, amongst all of the other heightened fees that will come in effect as of January. Barbara G. I'm afraid of Bitcoin and still waiting to see it fall apart. Okay. Yeah, you're like many people, Miss Barbara. I could be honest with you. Dean says the government is talking out of both sides of their mouths saying they are pro-Caymanian, yet they're still catered to non-Caymanians. How you came to that, Dean? Give me a little bit, give me some more context on how, with that. I just want you to finish exactly what you're saying, Dean. That's why. So you're saying the government is talking out of both sides of their mouths, saying that they're pro-Caymanian, yet they're still catering to non-Caymanians. In what way? Is that the fees for naturalization? Is that the PR? Is that what? Where are you coming from with that? So I can put more context to it. Denver, from a prominent lawyer here in Cayman, we have gone from the best banking industry in the world to the worst our financial banking industry is determining fact. I thought we were still up there in the top, Denver, with us coming off of the gray list and putting all these things and getting all these recognitions, deteriorating. I get that. How aren't we still poised in the good eyes of good financial practices and making sure that we have all the legislations in place that takes that stigma off of us? Denver, I would like to find out why that was said, because what is being reported by our leaders, and especially our Minister of Financial Services, that's definitely not the case. So it would be interesting to get some more insight on that as to why this prominent attorney would be saying that, because that's not what is coming out from international standpoint, with us putting the necessary legislations in place. And they're saying we're still very strong. The financial industry here is very strong. So it's interesting. Now, if it's deteriorating, as you said, what would be the cost of that? Is it with some of the laws? Because we know somewhere, somehow, Denver, we're all connected somewhere. And this is why crime and national security is of paramount importance. This is why a decent healthcare system, public health system, access tourism product, when it comes to our cargo facility, when it comes to airport and all that sort of stuff, these all play into making our jurisdiction and, of course, our legislation. It all plays into attractiveness. But from the financial industry standpoint, that'll be interesting. What is deteriorating and why? What is the biggest cause? What is causing the deterioration? I would like to know. Barbara G, thank God my husband of 25 years has gotten his naturalization. Yep. Bitcoin. Oh, Denver, Miss Barbara is saying Bitcoin, it'll never happen. It will never collapse is what Denver is saying, Miss Barbara. Put a moratorium on status, etc. Oh, well, that's still for the government to do if they have the political will. And that status on what grounds? Status on what grounds? Is it on the grounds of naturalization, grounds of marriage, grounds of descent? Which one? Moratorium, X amount per year. We saw former elected member from West Bay, Mr. Bernard Bush, advocated for that. And yeah, but it takes political will. And then you have to look at it to see the impacts as well, Dean, to be honest. But the people continue to cry, saying we are outnumbered. We need to slow it down. We're moving too fast. Our people are being left out. And no, it feels as though you have a sector of people that says no one is listening to us. No one is listening to us. So the cry and the call that you're saying, put a moratorium on status, I'm quite sure the government of the day would have to actually look at any implications that could be. What that would be, and what type of status would you be doing that? Would that be straight across the board, or would it be a case where at the end of the day, it's the PR that we should be doing the moratorium on, not status? I'm just saying these are things for them to consider. Real Michelle, how are you? Hi, listening and simultaneously drafting submissions which expose a Buttery Bank. So exciting. I can feel it in the words. Intentional fraud and cartel criminality is real and rife in Cayman. Yeah, you're okay though, Real Michelle. Hope you're doing okay. Denver, Well, basically, a certain prominent lawyer indicated that in a talk show a few months ago. Really? Oh, okay. About our banking industry deteriorating. Hmm. Oh, interesting. And well, it's definitely a different side from what our government is saying. And I guess it's saying we're still attractive jurisdiction, and that's why the cable, the Maya, the Maya, whatever that cable bill that was just passed the other day, and how it's going to play for our healthcare and the banking industry, and keeps us connected to the world. And these are all infrastructure that makes us very unique. You see the MOU and the Cayman Islands in the UK the other day just joined up forces by being the international hub here, where the Honorable Premier and Minister J.E. Banks and the Minister of Finance was also there in welcoming this industry. And it was because of the legislation that we are now passing. It is now because of all of the digital infrastructure now that we are actually putting in place along with the legislation, that we're creating an environment that is making the jurisdiction very attractive, Denver. So as this continues to evolve, we've seen where the Premier as well has shook hands with some official from India and doing, please don't quote me, but showing the ties with India as well. I saw that in the public's domain as well. So we continue to see these relationships, whether or not as a common person you agree with who they're shaking hands with or not. The Cayman Islands must be attractive. And for us to be getting these type of recognitions and that sort of stuff. So Denver, I'm going to look to see if I can find that. If it's anything and you got the link, 936-8255, message me to tell me that. Just WhatsApp me there on the 936-8255 so I can see exactly for more context as to why. But it would be interesting. Our banking industry has gone from I believe 15 billion down. I don't remember okay. Well. Oh, well, if that is the case, then is it a farce? Is what we're saying now they're trying to rebound? Is it because we're trying to recoup? And if there are just certain things that we need to put in place to make us still be a viable jurisdiction for the banking industry, the financial industry, this will be interesting, Denver. But I would love to actually hear that, to look deeper into that. Those things get me going. Real Michelle. The exposure will be worldwide and may be the start of the end for the banking industry. A culture of criminal activity became the norm. Watch this space, you will be gobsmacked, as will the world. Well, definitely, Real Michelle. Keep it locked. We got definitely keep on this one. Yeah, very interesting. But I would really love to get someone from the financial industry to I don't know, to just put context into the level of conversations that we're having here. What makes us attractive, yet our people still feel that they value little to nothing? And this is why, again, kudos to Sariba in leaning into the government and answering the call. Who will be next? Will it be the Bankers Association? Will it be, what other industry will be next? Will it be the insurance industry? What other industry will be next so that we can would it be the utility companies? It will be interesting how the business sector responds to this as we continue to, when you hear about private to public partnership, these are some of the things that they're talking about, right? And Sariba has definitely stepped up and hoping now that come February of 2026, first-time homeowners will see a difference of $5,000, and that's good. I must say, congratulations to them for that. The Real Michelle, okay, yeah, all right, good. That's the 936-8255. Send me the WhatsApp, and then I can see if I can find it to bring context to it, right? And we can discuss it here. Remember now, Friday, my last day. I know a lot of you don't like to hear that. Last day for this year. I'm going to take some time. It's the company registration and no income tax which initiated the banking boom in Cayman. Oh, okay. Yep. And that was one of the leading things I can remember as a child growing up, that if you did not want to work in a bank, like everybody aspired, like that was the way to go, getting to the banking industry. Other areas you didn't even look on, Michelle, as a young Caymanian growing up. Everyone was trying to get a job in the bank. Yeah, so it's amazing. It's the company registration and no income tax, which initiated the banking boom. Yeah, no income. It definitely makes us very attractive. No income tax. And this is why certain legislation has to put in place, because movies that have been shot here paints a different light on the jurisdiction. And we are trying, and I'm paraphrasing now, the Premier saying we want to take that stigma off of us, as we're only looking at housing, quote unquote, money that is tainted, dirty money, that we want to stop that. And with all of these things, that laws and legislation and infrastructure that they're putting in place, they will hopefully break that stigma for what the Cayman Islands is known for. Dean says we have a two-party government, nationalist and conservative liberal. That's Dean's opinion. Yep. And I've heard that a lot recently, for true. Yep. So you may have a lot of people agreeing with you, Dean. Tartarian, I read the book, The Secrets of Banking, and learnt that banks by law are not supposed to lend money and take your promissory note. Interesting. Maybe I need to look into this banking thing. Look, I'm not a person for numbers. I tell them, oh no, I'll make it for you. And I'll know if you take anything from me. But oh my God, it was never my strong point. Was never. But you take $1 from me, I bet you I'll know. Banksters are gangsters. Oh, I like the ring of that. Well, you know what? We have come to an end of another episode of Sabrina Speaks, just like that, for this Open Mic Wednesday. I want to thank all of you for your comments. I want to thank all those persons for their calls and for your participation as we continue to learn and grow in this space. That is why our tagline is so profound. We're voices of the islands and conversations for the world. And it takes a lot out of me. I have to now, Denver has got me on. I want to find out about this. And even I'll dig up into something that I saw about Bermuda, not picking on my brothers and sisters over there in Bermuda, because they're very similar to us here. Our tourism and finance, banking is what they make their income from. But there was something that I saw the other day that led to immigration reform that pretty much had a kicker to them. I will go and I'll double check it myself and come back and report my findings for sure. Some banksters call it hot money or sticky money in their quarterly reports. Literally, they use that. Really, Michelle? Oh my. Hot money or sticky money. Look here, I need to look into more of this. Things that this just gets me going. Connie Bonnie, have a wonderful night to you too, my love. Anita, how are you? So you really think the 5,000 from Sariba is a great amount? No, I didn't say it was. I thought it should be more of you of increasing the price for land. What I'm saying is the actual gesture, Anita. I like the fact that at least one industry stepped up, and it is the beginning of things to come. Whether or not the amount of money that they're doing is one step to maybe bigger things, I applaud them for stepping up. They're the first that we are known of, and the Premier making it public, and I give them credit for that. Maybe from this one step, there'll be greater and bigger things. I applaud them so far for being that industry in making the first step forward. So yeah, let's see, Anita. Let's see what else will come. Where there's life, there's hope, baby. But at least they stepped up. Let's see what other industry will do it. It has been a pleasure, like I said, bringing you another episode of Sabrina Speaks. Cayman football is up next on cmrtv.com. Until tomorrow, Thursday. Mwah, love you lots. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon and be careful on the streets. Take care. See you all tomorrow.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, The dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.